Five Star Consulting started blossoming when my coworkers and I noticed how hard of a hit the restaurant industry took during the pandemic. COVID-19 managed to strip the ability of providing Southern hospitality services from restaurants in the southeastern part of the United States. These restaurants were forced to remove the social and human aspect of dining that is now sorely missed. At the core of Five Star Consulting, our goal is to raise our clients' restaurants to Food Network level by first starting with restoring their true and unique character. We make it our mission to instill Southern hospitality one restaurant at a time. While putting the people back in people pleaser, our focus remains on honesty, ethics, integrity, and humanity. Hello, my name is McKenna Scott, and I am Five Star Consulting's marketing manager. My responsibilities include developing and executing marketing strategies to meet consumer needs while maximizing profit. I have over 10 years of experience in the marketing industry and business sector. Not only have I led marketing campaigns for other restaurants, but I have also partnered with many fashion and beauty brands to put together marketing strategies that are to this day continuing to prove long-term results. Whitney Brown describes Old Lady Gang as so. Came early so the wait was short. The staff was very inviting, friendly, and attentive. The atmosphere in general has a nice vibe. The food was amazing and made to perfection. The chicken and waffles was my favorite. The chicken was crispy and seasoned well, just how I like it, and you know I had to hit it with that hot sauce as I love hot sauce on my chicken. The French toast was the perfect pairing along with a side of that mac and cheese. That was so good. Something new that I had tried were the fried salmon bites. That was awesome. The sauce was on another level and very tasty, and the fried deviled eggs is definitely a must try filled with flavor. Overall, I was very satisfied with my meal and the service that I received while visiting. I can't wait to visit again. So reading that, I already pointed out some strengths. She got there early, so she had a short wait, and the staff was very friendly and inviting. So I'm taking another look at this other review. Amari really enjoyed the bar. My first time here, I sat at the bar, and AJA was my bartender. This raspberry lemon draught was absolutely amazing and refreshing. The deep fried deviled eggs was okay, but the glazed salmon dinner was the best I've ever had. I can't wait to come back and try the other drinks and entrees that AJA recommended. So, looking at this review, I noticed that some strengths were um, the drinks, the adult beverages that she had ordered were amazing and refreshing, and The environment of the restaurant has made her eager to come back. Nini Couture was also very weary of the service reputation, but gave it a try anyways and seemed to enjoy her time saying, "I must say I've lived in the area for 3 years and never visited this restaurant because of the mediocre reviews. So I decided to visit this location. Although the restaurant wasn't completely ready for guests at opening time, they sat us right away. The service was pleasant, but I could tell she wasn't experienced. The food was really good. I had the fried green tomatoes, fried chicken, and French toast. Delicious. The salmon bites were a little overcooked. Despite room for improvement in a few areas, I was really impressed with the food. Because it's so close to me, I'm sure I'll become a regular patron." So reading that, I was able to identify some weaknesses and strengths. So starting off with strengths, she as well was able to get seated quickly, and she felt like the majority of her food was cooked amazingly. But the weaknesses she did point out was the salmon was a little overcooked, and she felt as if the service that was provided to her was inexperienced. Taking a look at another review here, Zaha had positive and negative things to say about the restaurant. Pros: it's in a plaza, so there's plenty of parking. The menu has all the bangers on it. Drinks were good. However, if you don't like the sweet alcohol drinks, you may want to stay clear of the sneaky Georgia peach. I was a fan, but my sister and Bestie was not. The fried deviled eggs and green tomatoes were delicious. We kept commenting on them, saying things like they did something special with these. Or to these. Um, Everybody was content with their meal of choice too. Cons: cornbread was stiff, like it was a day old. Our server was knowledgeable and accommodating, but flighty, meaning we had to catch him when we could to ask for things or order because we didn't know when he was going to come back. Otherwise, Zaw would definitely recommend coming to Old Lady Gang. Um, so yes, and they heard great things about this location and it lived up to the hype. So some weaknesses that were pointed out in this review were the server was very flighty. It was hard to grab him when it was needed, and the cornbread seemed to be very stiff and rubber-like as if it was old. Some strengths, though, on the positive side, the food outside of the cornbread was delicious. There was plenty of parking, and again, the adult beverages were a hit. Another review here. Aria seems to have enjoyed the food, but the service was a little on the lacking side. She said, "The service at this location is really good. The building is nice, but not that big. We ordered fried deviled eggs and they were cold and looked old. Our food came out about 20 minutes after the appetizer. I had the salmon and my husband ordered the chicken. The food was really good and well seasoned. I will return." So, some weaknesses. The fried deviled eggs. She felt as if they were old, and when they came out to her table, they were cold. That is, I can understand why that would be a weakness, and why that would be an issue as a customer. She also stated that the building was not very spacious. It was pretty small. But on the positive note for strengths, this location, from her words, has primarily good service. Even though the building was small, it was nice, and their dishes were very well seasoned. So I am reading yet another review where this person was not fond of the service either. So she states, "My husband and I went to visit the restaurant Old Lady Gang last Thursday. Of course, I love me some Candy and Todd, so yes, I wanted to support. I was very disappointed when we arrived and there was no one to greet us. Finally, after a minute or two, the waitress came from the back. Let's just say Candy needs to visit all her establishments to make sure it's running right. The waitress had an attitude and I see why. They don't have to work for the tips. The food was okay." So this review was all weaknesses. The staff wasn't attentive to her and wasn't greeting her, nor her husband. They had poor attitudes, and the food was nothing spectacular for them. It was just okay, pretty average. Now we are going to take a look at some reviews of the competitors of Old Lady Gang. So we are going to start out with a review from Ruby Tuesdays. This user wrote a review saying the food is exactly what you would expect from Ruby Tuesdays. However, the service was awful. I ordered with a scheduled pickup time of 6 p.m. and arrived a few minutes early. They didn't bring my food out until 6:40 p.m. And when they did, one of the two dinners I had ordered was missing a side. No one told me they were out of green beans for the 40 plus minutes I was waiting. I had to open the containers and check the meals to figure it out. I was never offered another side and didn't want to wait any longer, so I just left without one. Don't waste your time and go somewhere with better service. I had to walk 20 minutes back to my hotel in the dark. So, long list of weaknesses here. Long wait time for carryout, lack of communication between the staff and the customers when it came to that mix-up with getting that side that he ended up not getting whatsoever, and a mix-up regarding time-wise because this person was waiting for 40 minutes for a carryout order. And the service was just unpleasant in this person's opinion, which eventually led to this person walking out without their carryout order being completely fulfilled. So yes. So we just looked at Ruby Tuesdays. Now we're going to look at two reviews from Longhorn Steakhouse. This user wrote, I actually go here a few times out of the month. It is convenient to my home and workplace. I love the food and great customer service I receive every time I visit. The atmosphere is always calm and cozy. The music is soothing. The smiles all around are very warm. Overall, I give this location an A+. Never take anyone's advice. Try it for your own. So, some strengths: great food, great customer service. Everyone's giving her smiles, making her feel welcomed. It's giving a great atmosphere for her to feel comfortable in. So let's take a look at the next review. This user wrote about Longhorn as well, the same one. Service was slow, food was cold, manager was not concerned, it wasn't crowded, so there's no excuse for this type of service not coming back. So we had one really great positive review for this competitor of Old Lady Gangs, and then we have this really down and negative review that's full of weaknesses. So being that these are competitors, I am comparing the two. So just like Old Lady Gang, all restaurants have to work on things. They all have strengths and they all have weaknesses. But it seems to be that Longhorn and Old Lady Gang both have positives, positive feedback on their food. They're constantly, getting positive feedback on how great the food tastes, and how maybe nice the atmosphere is, even though Old Lady Gang does have a sort of small dining space and they could use some more seating. But unfortunately, Old Lady Gang has gotten some reviews about the food being cold as well, so there's some comparison there with these two reviews. As you can see, no restaurant is perfect. With every good review comes a bad review at some point. What makes all the difference is how we work to correct these behaviors that are mentioned in these bad reviews. We want to prevent these from becoming a repetitive complaint, and just maybe in return we will be able to win the customer's loyalty back before they establish it with a competitor of Old Lady Gangs. That being said, after reading over most of Old Lady Gang's reviews, good and bad, and giving some detailed thought, I think we have some good recommendations to discuss. So from what I was seeing on Google reviews, most people were unhappy with the unfriendly and inexperienced staff. I saw a review saying how that is where Old Lady Gang received the gang part of their name. I recommend having all staff go through more extensive training for their individual roles, as well as taking a week-long customer service at-home class that contains 7 modules, one for each day of the week, to give the staff a better understanding of how to treat guests they are assisting and serving versus how not to treat them. And hopefully that will help the inexperienced side of things that people have been receiving from Old Lady Gang staff. I also read where people were waiting in line and other people were getting seated before them because the staff forgot about the original people that had been waiting. This can easily be fixed and prevented by putting together some sort of a list, whether it be with pen and paper, maybe whiteboard, a computer system put in. Personally, I would recommend a computer system. It's more reliable. It's not going to get lost like pen and paper, or if you have a small whiteboard could. It's not going to get anything on it like paper would. It's not going to get ripped. It's not going to get smudged or erased like a whiteboard. Once it's put in that computer system, it's locked and loaded. So I feel like that would be the most reliable. That way you can compile a wait list together that's in order that you can strictly go by. That way you're not running into the situation where you're forgetting who is before who and causing issues in that kind of department of things. And another thing that I saw was the fried chicken was coming out burnt on certain occasions. It was a real hit or miss kind of thing depending on what time of day and when you got there. The problem here is that we want to perform consistently in all areas of the restaurant, and that isn't happening when people can't rely on ordering the fried chicken because you never know when it's going to be burnt. So I recommend taking all kitchen staff through a cooking class that specializes in frying, considering that can be tricky. And you don't even have to do that necessarily. You could hire someone to come out to the restaurant themselves, a professional, and do a class sort of that way. So it's staying local and within the business. That way we can prevent from having the burning of the fried chicken. Now that we have discussed a few recommendations, let's speak about potential threats. So we have the unfriendly reputation that I feel is the biggest threat to the establishment. Going through the reviews, more often than not, a lot of the negatives were people who are having trouble being acknowledged, whether that be entering the restaurant or even after they had already been seated. Another one, being in the restaurant industry, your business should always be centered around your customers and what's in their best interest. So say you have first-time customers, entering the restaurant without being greeted. Now they're in a position of confusion, right? They don't know how your restaurant's ran, so they're sitting there going, do I seat myself? Do I wait to be seated? And all sorts of things are kind of running through their head. And all of a sudden, what should have been a smooth process for them to, come in and see a nice smiling face and be greeted, and already right off the bat be getting a good experience from the place, your guests are now frustrated, and like I'm saying, yes, they're frustrated because they've been put in a situation where they've been standing around waiting for someone to come assist them while they're kind of racking their brain trying to figure out what's going on. And they're sitting there having to wait to be acknowledged in a industry and in a business that specializes in people. So clearly, if you shouldn't be leaving guests wandering around at the entrance of the building, waiting for, to be acknowledged, then you definitely don't want to leave them at their table once they've been seated and have them feel not acknowledged there as well. So this threat can be avoided by being more attentive and coming up with maybe even a timing routine when you a time routine for when to check back in with your tables, because again, I had experience in the waiting or in serving industry, and that was a system that worked best for me. I kind of had a timing system. I figured out which ones worked best for me. So I didn't check on my tables too much, and so I wasn't overbearing. But then you kind of have to hit that sweet spot. So you don't want to, again, overbear them and check on them too much, but you also don't want to not check on them enough to where they feel like their needs aren't being met and they're not getting attended to. So again, yeah, you just kind of have to play around with it. I recommend maybe even going out to dinner and kind of figuring out what kind of timer your waiter or waitress has themselves, because I guarantee you they have some sort of trick like that, where they time when would be a good time to go to the table. For example, when I was waiting or a server years ago, I would sit my people down, give them their drinks, or like take their order, give them their drinks, and give them about 10 minutes to look at the menu. Obviously, if I saw them still conversing, I would give them more time. Or if it was under 10 minutes and I saw all the menus were down, I knew that I could go ahead and go to the table. But I always had that kind of timer in my head of giving them at least 10 minutes. And it worked out. I never had any complaints. So that would be the best recommendation, was to kind of get down a timer situation. That way we make sure that our guests, once they are seated, are attended to, and that way they're not having to wait around on us and or, flag um, other employees and associates and staff down that work there that are supposed to be doing and attending to their own tables. So. Another thread I noticed and had come across was the inconsistency of the food quality. Sometimes the food was burnt, sometimes the food would appear to be old and soggy, and sometimes the food was brought out cold. People want to dine somewhere that they can trust and give them the best experience as well as the best quality of food. And so I suggest having, again, a professional chef to come into the restaurant and not only show the kitchen staff how to fry properly, but also potentially help the staff create new menu items. And that way, these newly created dishes on the menu can be advertised and have fresh marketing techniques applied to them, which will hopefully bring newcomers in and even regulars back. The third threat I wanted to speak on is the size of the restaurant. Old Lady Gang has nowhere to expand in its building. Once we start making these minor tweaks and adjustments, it won't be long before the restaurant needs to expand. The last thing you want is to have a huge wait list with the minimal seating that's available in the restaurant dining room right now. That is going to lead to many bad reviews and complaints regarding having to have long wait times. Looking into available buildings for sale in the surrounding area should be something to go ahead and look into and go ahead and be thinking about. That way we can go ahead and start looking for something, maybe signing a lease of some sort, so when the time comes, we're not scrambling and putting ourselves in a bad situation. So this is the SWOT analysis chart. Our strengths would be considered little to no wait to be seated, delicious adult beverages, friendly and inviting staff, and plenty of accessible parking. Our weaknesses would be some of the meals are overcooked, poor customer service, limited seating, and unorganized wait list. Opportunities, so we have relocation to a building with more space, at-home customer service modules, private on-site cooking classes for kitchen staff, and having a computer installed to log the wait list to keep it in order. And our threats, competitors with more attentive staff. More attentive staff as in our competitors would have staff that pay more attention to their customers, go that extra mile, go out of their way to make sure that their customers, their guests know that they're They're never going to have to go searching for someone. They're always going to be attended to. Other restaurants with extra seating and space is definitely a potential threat. Nobody wants to be in a restaurant with no space that's crammed and dark and dingy. That kind of puts off weird vibe. So those could be potential threats. Restaurants offering consistent quality of food. Considering that one of our weaknesses is um, it's like playing Russian roulette when cooking. You never know when you're going to get the burnt meal. Um, people want to go somewhere that they can depend on good quality food. I know I do. I'm sure everyone else in the world does as well. They want to go somewhere where they can depend on whoever's cooking their food to do it right and to have their best interests in mind and know that they're not going to serve them um, anything that they wouldn't eat themselves. And last but not least, other restaurants offering top of the line customer service because that as well is one of our weaknesses at Old Lady Gang. Um, we have struggled with hiring staff members that are on top of their game in the customer service department. So definitely going to be something that we will have to work on and do training towards. But yes, this is most definitely a potential threat. So, in conclusion, to kind of wrap things up, we want to make sure we're paying attention to the small things within our businesses, such as extra training, smiling staff, smiling management, greeting our guests as they come in the door, starting off the bat with a good impression, um, having reliable services, reliable staff members. When I speak on reliable services, I'm talking about like the potential getting the computer software so that our customers feel comfortable knowing that their spot on the wait list is saved and there's not going to be any sort of confusion. Um, so we'll have a proper order. Uh, so small things just along the lines of what I was just talking about, those tend to be some of the most important aspects of the restaurant industry, and they tend to make the biggest differences to our customers. These small details usually get overlooked, and that's when your business starts racking up bad reviews. It only takes one bad review to cause a restaurant to take a hit, so it's best to stay on top of the reviews, whether they are good or bad. Without reviews, there would be no growth within the industry and within our businesses. Like I said earlier, it's not about the review itself. It's about how to take good reviews and use them as motivation to work harder and keep moving in the right direction. And then as well as taking bad reviews and using them as lessons to learn from. It's all about how you um, use that bad review to work harder to fix that problem that was stated in the bad review, to ensure that we have happy customers. They know that we see the bad reviews. They know that we're going to be changing these things. It's not like we see and ignore it. We want to stay on top of it and change it. Um, and, just know all hope isn't lost if you receive bad reviews. It just simply means you and your team may need guidance and or proper training, and that's what 5 Star Consulting is here to help with. Um, I really appreciate you giving me the time to help your company grow and get back to succeeding and doing it the best that it can and thriving. I am very thankful for this opportunity. So thank you for sitting here listening to me and taking these recommendations into consideration. So for any questions, comments, concerns, any future purposes, here is all of our contact information, email, website, and phone. If you can't reach us by phone number, leave a message. We will definitely get back to you. Just make sure you leave your name, and if it's about a consulting job, your company's name, and again, website will give you all the information about us and our team, and email. You can email us with any questions, comments, or concerns. But yeah, here's all our contact information, so feel free to reach out to us at any time. Thank you again for giving me this opportunity to work with you and your company. I also don't want you guys to miss out on this opportunity. So at the end of all of our consulting jobs, we do a giveaway. We have a tumbler cup and a t-shirt. Yes, it's cheesy, but it's something that you can look back on and say, hey, you know, like we went through this and it's gotten us here now. And don't play, those tumbler cups work. They keep coffee hot, and any cold drink you got, it'll be cold for hours. And you know, everyone needs a good sleeping t-shirt, so don't sleep on the giveaway. But yeah, every person that we partner with for our consulting jobs gets gifted these two things. So we will be in contact with your company about getting sizes and all those sorts of things, and how we can deliver these items to you. I know I've said it a million times, but thank you again. Um, Alrighty, let us know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns again, and reach out to us.